Okay, bounce back loan fraud update for 2024. Director bans are up 80% and there's even more coming. So remember, if you're a director, I want you to watch this video to the end because I'm going to discuss a few examples of what's gone on with regards to bounce back loan fraud and director bans. I'm also going to discuss to you what happens if the Insolvency Service tries to give you a disqualification order, because you don't have to roll over and take it. There are things that you can do. So, right, Chris Worden, director first. There were 1.5 million, there or thereabouts, bounce back loans given out to UK businesses to survive the COVID pandemic. Now, out of the 1.5 million that's been taken, around 250,000 are already in default, okay? What a default means, just so you understand, is they've missed 3 payments to the bank have put it into default and passed it on to one of the representative debt collectors. Now, in 2023, there were 35,000 company liquidations, and that's where a company's become insolvent. They can no longer trade, debts are more than their assets, and they cannot pay people on time, and they've gone into liquidation. The majority of those will have taken a bounce back loan. And once you go into liquidation, an insolvency practitioner is duty bound to look at how the company's failed. And one thing that they're really hot on right now is bounce back loans. So let's sort of talk a bit more about what constitutes bounce back loan fraud. Okay, well, the first thing is you needed to be entitled to take a bounce back loan. And what that means is you had to have been trading in January. That's my coffee machine turning off, so forgive the noise. It's what happens with live video. In January 2020, you needed to have been trading to be able to have taken a bounce back loan. If your accounts say you were dormant in 2020 and dormant in 2019, you was not meant to take one. You're gonna get accused of bounce back loan fraud. Another thing that's constituted as bounce back loan fraud is taking too much. It was really clear that if you read the terms and conditions of the loan, that you was allowed to apply for 25% of your turnover in 2019. For those that don't know, turnover is just money coming into your bank. So if 100 grand come into your bank in 2019, you was allowed to take 25 grand. If 10 grand come into your bank in 2019, you was able to take 2.5 grand. Now, a lot of directors estimated their turnover. They wrongly read the terms and conditions, or maybe they just read what they wanted to read, and they estimated their turnover. Now, you was only allowed to estimate your turnover if you was incorporated after the 1st of January 2019, because you obviously didn't have a year's trading. So let's say you was incorporated in February 2019, you was able to estimate how much you was going to turn over, and if you estimated 200,000, you was entitled to take 50,000. Now, if you've clearly inflated your turnover to get more of a bounce back loan, this is something the Insolvency Service are picking up quite diligently right now, and we're seeing a lot of disqualifications coming from that. Another thing is people spending the bounce back loan personally. Now, I want to give a little bit of context here, because there's 2 ways of looking at this. You've got the director who applied for his bounce back loan on the Monday, it landed in his account on the Tuesday, and on the Wednesday he pulled it all out in one. That's what I'm talking about. That's where the problem lies, okay? Because you've not used it for the economic benefit of the company. Add to that list, he's put it into Binance or a crypto exchange, or he's bought stocks and shares, or he's bought a new watch, or he has paid his dad back some money he owed him. All that would be constituted as misappropriation of the bounce back loan fraud. Misappropriation of the bounce back loan. But the second scenario is where a director takes a bounce back loan and over the course of the next 12, 18 to 24 months, they've used it personally. And that could be to top their wages up, or they've paid their wages out of the bounce back loan. Now that will not be classed as bounce back loan fraud as long as the drawings are similar, in line or less to the years before drawings, okay? I hope I've made that point clear, because there's loads of people who did spend the bounce back loan personally, but they spent it to survive. They spent it to pay the rent, to pay their mortgage, to, you know, keep food on the table, and they took it sort of drips and drabs month by month. There would be no action from bounce back or accusation of bounce back loan fraud in that scenario. What you may have though is incurred an overdrawn director's loan account. I've done loads of videos on that. I'm not going to go on about it in today's video. Another thing that constitutes bounce back loan fraud is if you've took more than one, right? So I'll give you an example. A guy rang me, we're talking about his inquiry, and he tells me he's got 2 bounce back loans. And I says, okay. And he says, and his mitigating circumstance for this is, well, I had 2 bank accounts. I applied with Starling, and Starling was a while to come back to me. And then I applied to Lloyds, and Lloyds give me the money straight away. And then Starling give me the money straight away, thus having 2 bounce back loans. So what should have happened in that scenario is the minute that the Starling money hit his account, he should send the money back to Starling. So if you've taken more than 1 bounce back loan for one company, that is definitely going to be an accusation of fraud against you to the Insolvency Service. Now, I'm just going to give you some figures here. The National Audit Office estimated in 2021 that £4.9 billion worth of bounce back loan applications were fraudulent. Now, in June 2023, they believe that that figure is actually about 1.65 billion. I mean, 1.65 billion is a lot of money. It's still a considerable amount of fraud that's gone on out there. And the reality is it's not come to light yet. What you've got to remember is there's the justice system in the UK, the legal system is extremely slow. Now, the Insolvency Service has reported that since this has happened, right, 831 company directors have received disqualifications just in 2023. I'm doing this video to you in May 2024, but the figures from last year, there was 831 directors received bans due to COVID abuse. Now, that figure is up 80% on 2022, and we believe that it's going to increase this year. Now, the average disqualification that was given to a director was 9.5 years, and that is they're disqualified from being a company director for that period of time. In addition to that, there are also some compensation orders that have been given where the director is being made personally liable for the money that they took and misappropriated. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to give you a quote now that was given one of the chief executives from the Insolvency Service. And what he said was, tackling bounce back loan misconduct is a key priority for the Insolvency Service, and we're determined to use all our available powers to remove rogue company directors from the corporate arena. It's important that the Insolvency Service is taking such robust action to clamp down on directors who abuse the COVID support schemes and took from the public purse during the worst global pandemic for 100 years. We have teams dedicated solely to investigating bounce back loan misconduct that are committed to taking action against those who provided misleading information to receive money they were not entitled to. So let's have a look at that for a minute. The Insolvency Service are looking at this. They've sort of mobbed up with members of staff to take on the investigation work. but they're relying mainly on the insolvency practitioners. So if you go into liquidation and you appoint a liquidator to do a voluntary liquidation, that liquidator is duty bound to report any wrongdoings when it comes to bounce back loan. They put it on the director's conduct report, and that director's conduct report is sent up to the insolvency service. What we're also seeing, and it's in minute cases at the moment, but the banks are checking applications. There is a pilot scheme that's going on right now, and the bank has all the information. They're now liaising with HMRC, and if the bank suspects that a large fraud has gone on, the bank will also report this, and they will try to wind your business up in the courts. So I'm just going to give you a few cases of what's gone on in basically where directors have been disqualified, sort of the content of the case. I'm not going to mention any names and how long that they got banned for. So there was a chap who got banned 13-year director disqualification, and what this guy did is he took 3 bounce back loans for 3 companies, and none of these companies had any income. So they were all dormant companies at the start of 2020, and he's gone on and he's applied for bounce back loans. It totaled £120,000. Then out of the 120 grand, he transferred 105 of it to his own account for personal use. Okay, so that guy, 12-year director disqualification. Second example I'm going to give you, this guy was a builder. He also got a 12-year director disqualification, and what this guy had done is he got £50,000 from the bounce back loan. He was a construction company, and he inflated his turnover massively. So he was only entitled to 4,000. So his turnover in 2019 will have been 16,000, but he claimed the full 50,000. He'd gone into liquidation. The insolvency practitioners reported him, and he's ended up with a director disqualification of 12 years. Now, of the money that he took, nearly all of it was transferred to his personal bank account. So another one that I'm going to discuss with you is somebody got a 6-year director disqualification. And what this chap did, again, he took £50,000, okay? He was allowed to take £50,000, but then what he did, he transferred the £50,000 directly to a connected company of his. And what a connected company is the same director. So he's took it for this company and he sent it to that company. Remember, the bounce back loan, the use of the bounce back loan needed to be for the benefit of the business that took it. So he went into liquidation. He had no good explanation as to why he's done that, and he got a 6-year director disqualification. Let me just get a little bit of water. I'm going to talk to you now about a director that got an 11-year director disqualification. So what this chap did, he did sort of interior design and fitting. He took a £50,000 bounce back loan, and his company was dormant. So he's gone into insolvency. The insolvency practitioner has reported it. This guy's got a 6-year director disqualification. And again, there's no rhyme or reason, is there really? One guy did the same thing, he got 12 years, this guy got 6 years. So we're going to come on to that in a minute about what you can do if you get that letter from the insolvency service. Now, not every investigation into bounce back loan misuse ends up in director disqualification. What you'll find is the insolvency service will raise queries. They will send queries back to the directors. Now, in some cases, a bounce back loan was not enough to save a company. And through no fault of their own, the director has to place the company into liquidation. Now, with a bounce back loan, it's still outstanding. Now, this is going to trigger an investigation by the insolvency practitioner, because remember, an insolvency practitioner, when you appoint them, they're duty bound to look at what's happened and report any of their findings to the insolvency service. Now, I don't want you to think that everybody who liquidates with a bounce back loan gets disqualified. That is not the case. This video is for those people that have done something wrong with a bounce back loan. And please, just as a caveat, I don't want loads of inquiries from you guys, okay? I really don't. I'm here to support the directors who have really done nothing wrong. If you've been, clearly been at it with a bounce back loan, I am not the guy for you, okay? But I am going to give you a little bit of information that I think will help you. So I've been sort of part of a number of cases where I've had an inquiry and I've had to refer them to a solicitor, an insolvency lawyer, because the director has got some type of correspondence from the insolvency service where they're looking to disqualify the director. And I'm going to give you a few examples where a director has been able to avoid a disqualification sanction, okay? So let's have a look. This case, the insolvency service alleged that a director had overstated his company's turnover when applying for a bounce back loan to obtain more funds than he was actually eligible for, okay? What they were trying to do is disqualify this person for 11 years. And obviously, if a disqualification order comes, potentially they could also go for a compensation order, which is making the director personally liable. So what happened is this solicitor, they got all the evidence held by the insolvency service. They had a detailed discussions with the director, and they basically looked at what is the evidence that they're coming to the conclusion that it was going to end up that he was unfit to be a director, unfit conduct, okay? Is there anything in there that perhaps could shed light on something else? Was there any type of defence to this? Now, the solicitor's client position was set out in a detailed letter. So a detailed letter that got fired back to the insolvency service. And in this case, the insolvency service dropped their investigation, okay? It doesn't happen every time, but if you're being handed a suggestion of a director disqualification, it's really, really important that you put a robust argument as to what happened. Do not lie down and roll over. And what I've seen, and it's just an opinion, if you put up a robust enough argument and you comply and you fire something back, there's a good chance the insolvency service will actually stop and there'll be no further action, okay? So, another case that I want to talk to you about where the insolvency service has looked to do a director disqualification, but the director was able to overturn that with the help of a lawyer. The insolvency service alleged that this director had caused the company to make an application for a bounce back loan of 50 grand when it wasn't, well, it's not that it wasn't entitled to 50 grand. What this director had done is he got a C-bills, okay, and a bounce back loan. And as part of the terms is, if you got a bounce back loan, then got a C-bills loan, you was meant to repay the bounce back loan. You could only have one, you couldn't have two. So, what happened is the solicitor, obviously, they went through the reasons, what had happened. Was there a robust argument as to say why this company did not repay the bounce back loan after receiving the C-bills loan? And once a detailed explanation and letter of representation had been sent over to the insolvency service, it was decided that it was not expedient in the public interest, i.e. the legal test for the insolvency service to continue its director disqualification proceedings. It was thrown out, okay? There were some genuine reasons as to why this director had failed to repay the bounce back loan money from the C-bills. So, what I want to put to you is, even if you're getting some type of insolvency service letter asking for a director disqualification, it's not necessarily going to happen. What you've got to do is you've got to go back and try and fight your corner. That's if there is an argument, by the way, okay? That's if there is an argument. Now, the common thread through both of these case studies, it's important that when you get a letter from the Insolvency Service threatening director disqualifications for bounce back loan fraud or for anything else really, you've got to seek advice quickly. You've got to seek expert legal advice, and with the right team they can help you get the best type of outcome. So I hope you found this video useful. Chris Worden, Director First. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Please put some comments in the video and give us some feedback. Thank you for your time. Goodbye.